Hello everyone, welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 21st of December 2014.
Psych! You will not have him back. You will never have him back.
The only thing you have now is me and the misery that I am going to bring you.
For the events that has transpired this week were enough to fill 4 weeks in stupid. Nothing makes sense anymore. Everything is ridiculous, and I am here to point it all out. Now, in the real world, statues have been toppled. People have been laid off. And because you did not speak out, because you were quiet, hoping that this will pass, this has happened. You could have prevented this. You could have put a stop to it, but it's too late now. Aunt Jemima Brand is going to change the name. It is going to remove the image that is based on a quote-unquote racial stereotype. Now, if you're wondering, well, hold on, V. Didn't The Onion predict this a couple of years ago? Well, yes. Yes, it has. Which is why The Onion is now struggling financially. Because it's not a satirical website anymore. It's a news site. Which is why I suggest people start using The Onion as a crystal ball, a gateway into the future. Because yesterday's ridiculous is today's news. But wait, I hear you ask. Isn't Uncle Ben's depiction racist as well? Why, yes. Yes, it is. Which is why he also needs to go. Now, in the case of Aunt Jemima, I think we can replace it with Aunt Karen. Because that will be very progressive. So progressive. So progressive. But in the case of Uncle Ben, I'm not really sure what we're going to replace it with yet. Now, a lot of people on the Twitter are saying it's just a product. Why do you care? I think these people are very salty for 2 reasons. Number one, because it shows that politicians care, and even they understand how stupid this is. And number 2, it shows in the overwhelming minority that the people who want these brands changed are. You can literally count them on your fingers while reading a 10,000 replies tweet. The overwhelming amount of people are considering this to be silly and ridiculous. Because you see, kids, that's how we fix racismus. By getting multi-billion-dollar corporations change the images on their product, and all of a sudden, all the races are going to join hands and sing Kumbaya. It was really that simple. Also, Microsoft steps in order to make the world a better place by saying that the Microsoft-owned coding site GitHub is going to replace the term massa in push to remove slavery references. I'm going to read this again in case you've missed it. Microsoft-owned coding site is going to replace Microsoft owned. So the massa comes in and forces GitHub to change oh wow, no, this is beautiful. This is poetry right here. Should be in a museum. By the way, do you know how difficult and mind-numbing it's going to be for the actual coders who now have to change every single instance of code in order to achieve what exactly? Like, seriously, who benefits from this? Look, another one. Duluth pushes to remove chief from job title, calling it offensive to indigenous people. I highly doubt a single indigenous person was consulted about this. The only reason these people do it is so that their friends go, oh, excellent. You're an excellent person. You are such an upstanding human being. You are fighting racismus like no other white person has done before you. I mean, to be honest, the only name that I would like to see change, just for the lulz, is the Young Turks. Because, you know, the Young Turks were the political party in the Ottoman Empire that done the Armenian genocide. And I just want to see them stand up to their own convictions, because Cenk Uygur was very upset about the Washington Redskins and other such offensive names. But whenever the Young Turks comes out, he's like, "Look." So I would want to see them. What are they doing anyway these days? Like, what is the Young Turks doing? Oh. That's a big yikes from me. Now, speaking of changes that make absolutely no sense, here's a paper that no one besides me reads it. I mean, I swear to God, I've never felt so alone in my entire life than when I entered the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper. I felt isolated. I felt alone. And apparently, they're going to capitalize B in black. So now, whenever they say black, it's going to have an uppercase B. Whenever they say brown, it's going to have an uppercase B. It's like black and brown communities. And they're going to do the same for Hispanic, Latino, Asian, African American. I mean, these things, I guess they're now entities of their own. It's like when you type God, like the entity God, it's like with capital G. And now they're writing with capital H, capital L. But W is going to still be lowercase. It reminds me when my religious teacher at school, yes, in Romania we had religion at school. It was very boring. But anyway, he was saying that whenever you write about God, you should put capital G. And I was like, well, I guess that is also for Satan, because that's like a name. And the religious teacher comes and slaps my hand. No, you don't write it with a capital S, you write it with a lowercase s. And it's like the same thing here, right? Now, I'm sure you're wondering what is happening in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And this is why I don't report on it, because this story came up on Monday. And by Friday, 2 people got shot in that place. Now, I understand it's like the summer of love, and the mayor of Seattle is saying, oh, Trump, why are you afraid of a little democracy? I mean, maybe Seattle is coming up with a new way of doing democracy at gunpoint. That seems to be very progressive. That is, wow. That is very democratic socialist. Very, very internet. Very uchikushi, like the Japanese would call it. And yes, apparently the city of Seattle is sending people to clean up the mess, like the garbage. And they're trying to make the people there comfortable. And they changed their name now. It's not the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, because you see that's kind of problematic for the feds. They can get a lot of years in prison if they call themselves an autonomous zone. So now it's the Capitol Hill Occupied Protests. So yes, but let's see what's happening there. So this is from Reddit. Take it with a grain of salt, because it's from Reddit. But it is very interesting, because I see people with the hammer and sickle also tweeting this on the Twitter. So I'm going to rate this a mostly true out of Snopes. Disclaimer. This happened 2 hours ago and I'm still recovering from the shock, as all my valuables has been stolen. Came back from a walk to my tent and all my valuable items are gone. My laptop, 16-inch, power banks, cash of $400, entire backpack with my week supplies are now gone. I completely zipped up my tent before leaving it, but please don't take for granted and look it up, or bring your valuables with you. The surrounding people have been helpful to look for it, but no luck so far. I've asked around and it's just too chaotic, as people are constantly walking around the tents all the time. I have reached out for help, and the council has been kind to extend their assistance. I've been subsidized with fresh clothes, snacks, spare power banks, and some petty cash to cover for my logistics. They're now reviewing webcam and community source footage to help relocate my items. However, I've been notified that the chances are slim. I'm grateful for the help from everyone. Just hope to get back my MacBook, not because it's expensive, but because most of my work is stored there. So we have a person that has been robbed. Okay, someone went into the sanctity of his private property, his tent, and stole shit. And this happened with other anarcho-communists. Can you believe that? So he gets a very interesting reply from a community member. Mate komasai, please don't leave. We are stronger together. You don't exactly know what happened to your belongings, only that they vanished. To say it is theft is not entirely fair. Hold on. My brain is trying to understand communist morality. Okay? I got a little bit of a brain freeze. It could be that a disadvantaged resident was in greater need of the items than you, and that's what we are about as a community. I know it's hard to hear, but treat it as an unplanned donation. You did do good today. I'm proud of you. You know, I'm wondering if this applies to people as well. Like, what if your wife is missing one day? And it's like, well, you know, another member of the community had greater need of your wife than you. But anyway, enough laughing and joking around. Let's talk about serious business now. A threat. A threat was issued on the internet. Let's listen to it.
If you don't support Black Lives Matters, I'll break your kneecaps.
Now, boys, control yourself. I know that she looks like a catch, but no, I will not give you source so you can do unspeakable things to yourself in the bathroom while looking at her. No, okay? You will not get a source for that. Let's talk about the serious things, though. Apparently, the TV networks have taken that threat very seriously. And they decided to enlist private investigator to scour Star social media for racismus. The Inquisition has arrived. And apparently they found the couple. Like, would you have believed? Like, look at his face. Look at his face. It's like the actor which plays the Flash, Hartley Sawyer. He got fired. Would you look at this face and say, this is the face of a racist? But apparently you'd be wrong. It's not just the face of a racist. It's the face of a misogynist and a homophobe. Like, if you're a gay person and you see this guy walking down the street, you should cross immediately. He is a danger. And then former Vanderpump Rules star Kristen Doute speaks out after being fired to ask for prayers. How dare she? How dare she ask for prayers? Can you imagine this? My God, I am so glad that the TV networks have finally taken this problem seriously. They should have hired private investigators a long time ago, because if it's not the TV networks to make sure that society is pure, then who? Who? Can you imagine if more actors ask for prayers? Oh my God, that is just, wow. I am glad they caught her. And by the way, remember when I was saying this? You should delete your social media history frequently? Because you need to understand what's not offensive today can be offensive tomorrow. You need to treat your social media account like your ID card. It's official documents. It's official papers. You should imagine that there is a big stamp from the government on your papers, and treat them as such, with pristine, with the utmost consideration of what would happen if your employer would look at them. And then you can have another anonymous account for shit posting. But like your official social media, imagine that it has the stamp and the logo from the government. Seriously, you'll thank me later. Meanwhile, in Britansky, Nigel Farage leaves radio station at LBC. And with him, one of the last voices on the right goes away. What did they say about, like, what did they say? Protesting. Yeah, protesting is the voice of the unheard. And now the right is being left with less and less voices. Why are they doing this? Why you do this? Apparently, like, one of the other people that was there, a fellow presenter, James O'Brien, tweeted, "We got our station back." Like, this was a war in order to take down Nigel Farage, to quote-unquote get their station back from the clutches of the millions of people that wanted to listen to him. No one knows what exactly he did. Apparently, they're not talking about it. But what's interesting is that on the last show, which he presented, He said something in the lines of, we'll see you again tomorrow, and then tomorrow never came. So it's obvious that something happened within the last 24 hours that got him fired, and he is not coming back. But you know, hey, I know what some of you are saying. It's like, look, all you have to do is not be racist. How hard is it? How hard is it to just not be racist? If you're not racist, you don't get fired. Simple, right?
So we've been telling you the story of the police officer charged, Officer Rolfe. Until today, his stepmother, her name is Melissa Rolfe, was the HR director at a place called Equity Prime Mortgage in Atlanta, Georgia. But today, she was let go. She's no longer in that role. Apparently, she was fired, and her only crime was being Officer Rolfe's stepmother.
Okay. My bad. New rule. If you don't want to be fired, all you have to do is not to be a racist, and also make sure that your daughter doesn't marry a person that can become a racist. Control your woman. Oh my god. Like, no, seriously, how did Sargon do this show? It's been 16 minutes. I'm not halfway done. And this is already damaging my psyche. I mean, it's not hard to talk about it. Or to find these news. No, that's not the hard part. The hard part is to realize that these are things actually happening in the world. Like, there are people actually doing these things. Like sane adults over the age of 18, they are doing these things. And I have to internalize that. Once when I find the news, another time when I talk about it, and the third time when I edit it. Jesus! Alright. You know what? Fine, let's move on. It's time for standards and make it double. A rally for Black Trans Lives draws packed crowd to Brooklyn Museum Plaza. Very progressive. Very progressive. When did this happen? June the 14th at 4:50 p.m. Perfect. Now let's look at the same day, June the 14th at 6:30 p.m. So literally 2 hours later. President Trump plans to rally his supporter next Saturday for the first time since most of the country was shuttered by the coronavirus. But health experts are questioning that decision. Like, bruh. Now, I understand that the people at NBC News seem to care more about the health and safety of Trump supporters. But I don't know how to feel about this because they don't seem to care that much about the black transgender people that are gathering. I mean, NBC, what the fuck? You know, maybe it has been a while since I went to med school. I will admit this. So maybe the new virus is a little bit woke and it doesn't target black people anymore. It only targets Trump supporters. Like, maybe that's the thing. Like, we need to talk with the experts. What do the experts have to say on this matter? Because this is a little bit weird. Now they're going to say, oh yes, but this one was in open air and Trump was in a closed space. Do you think it matters when there's so many people? Like, do you really think it matters so much when there's so many people? When are they social distancing? Wasn't that something that we should care about? Like social distancing? Anyway, where was I? See, my fun was interrupted asking questions. You shouldn't ask questions. You should just read the news. We were talking about double standards, yes? Chris Cleesa, a couple of years ago, the questions about Hillary Clinton's health are absurd. Oh, I absolutely agree. You know, I absolutely agree. Conspiracy theory, they called it. Conspiracy theory. It's like talking about Bigfoot, the aliens, the earth being flat. You know, conspiracy theory. Trump going down a ramp. This was a story that actually mattered. I'm not even kidding. Like, this was newsworthy. Like, they didn't talk about his speech. Oh, no. All they focused about, the media, like the last week, I had difficulty finding news because I was bombarded with this. Trump went down a ramp and all the journalists were like, is he having Parkinson? Is he ill? Why can't he go down the ramp a little bit faster? No, he is sick. Like, all of the news anchors became medical experts and diagnosed this man just by the walk. Like, seriously, I think doctors should now hire news anchors because they're so good at putting diagnosis. Like, imagine this. You don't need any more imagery scans. You don't need any more blood works. All you need is a CNN anchor that sits at the door, and the way the patients walk in, he will just Parkinson's syndrome. Now, Donald Trump had a rally, and a lot of people in the press were mocking him and pointing out, look how unpacked the stadium was. Look how few people attended. And it seems that Sawa didn't get along with the program. Like, Sawa didn't keep up with the narrative, because here we have AOC bragging about it. She retweets one Brad Parscale, which I understand is the campaign manager for Make America Great Again. But to be honest, they should be Make Them Cry Again 2020. And he pointed out how radical protesters, fueled by a week of apocalyptic media coverage, interfered with the supporters in the rally. They blocked access to the metal detectors, preventing people from entering, and only 1,000 people got in. Now, AOC points out, actually, you just got rocked by teens on TikTok who flooded the Trump campaign with fake ticket reservations and tricked you into believing 1 million people wanted your white supremacist open mic enough to pack an arena during COVID. Shout out to the Zoomers, y'all make me so proud. You know, I really feel bad for the journalists at this point. Like, all that hard work, collaborating on the Twitter, talking to each other in order to weave this beautiful narrative, to make it seem like, look, the US president is not popular. People just don't show up to his events anymore. And here you have AOC destroying that labor, all that hard work, and coming up and saying, well, no, like, people would have showed up, but my Zoomers bought tickets, so other people who wanted to join couldn't because it was all sold out. It's like, yeah, you just destroyed all the hard work from the mainstream media, AOC. All that hard work just gone. Not to mention, like, she keeps talking about TikTok. Here's an interesting thing about TikTok. It's glorifying China. Wink, wink. One American student saw her TikTok views jump after posting, quote-unquote, my boy Xi Jinping, and applauding the Communist Party for doing a great job running the country. Guess the nugget jogging, doesn't it? Okay, so many standards. How many standards are there? Oh yeah, double standards. This was in 2017. Statues help us glimpse into our past. Even the ugly bits. Well, I mean, there were 3 years. She didn't have time to change her opinion. The toppling of statues is enriching, not erasing history, and it has thrilled my heart. Ooh, very witchy. Now, a lot of people were pointing out, it's like, no, you see, it's just the Confederate statues. It's just like the evil stone men, the Confederacy. Oh, they will not harm any other statues. George Washington statue toppled. American flag burned by Portland protesters. See, here's something really interesting though. Whenever they change the terms of service on Discord or on the Twitter, and you complain about it, and you're like, why do they add censorship? The question is like, well, why can't you stop being racist? Why do you have to say the N-word? It's like, I don't have to say the N-word, but it's like the principle of it. Like, why do you, just stop it. And the exact same people that are asking this question are the exact same people that get angry when Donald Trump says that there should be a punishment for burning the American flag. So my question is like, but why do you have to burn the American flag then? Like, why do you, like, let me use your morality for a change. Why do I constantly have people using my morality against me and I can't use their morality against them? Why do you have to burn the American flag? Do you really need to do it? I can't burn the European flag, by the way. It's illegal now in the EU. thanks to Germany. You can't burn the European flag, and you also can't burn the Ode to Joy. You can't. Like if you have it on a CD and you're burning, no, not allowed, haram. But they're all saying, oh look, no, like Trump isn't allowing the burning of the flag, and yet no one is complaining that the EU recently actually passed a law banning the same stuff. And before you tell me that this has anything to do with racismus, rioters in California tear down statue of Ulysses S. Grant. He defeated the Confederacy and devastated the KKK. The reason people are toppling down statues is because it's fun. ChangeMyMind.org. Now let me explain to you how our world works with just one news article. In the UK, there is this scholarship of Cecil Rhodes, which allows people from outside of the UK to be welcomed within the UK and study at one of the most prestigious universities in the world. A university that I personally couldn't study at because it was way too expensive. But if you meet the requirements, you can get a Cecil Rhodes scholarship. So what do the people that have gotten a Cecil Rhodes scholarship do? They're protesting against Cecil Rhodes' statue, and also they want to rename the scholarship. Now, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, the Oxford scholars rejected this hypocrisy, pointing it out that it's kind of ridiculous to come from another nation based on the British taxpayer money and complain about the scholarship that allowed you to come to that nation in the first place. Well, today I'm not so sure. Today we're going to see if they have the same response or not. Personally, it would be funny to see, you know what, you're absolutely right. We're going to stop the Cecil Rhodes program altogether. No more scholarships. Well, now you have to either pay for your own education, and if you can't pay for your own education, well, we're sorry, but you're going to have to go back home. I mean, we just can't sleep at night knowing that you're studying under a white supremacist scholarship. We would never bring these chains of oppression amongst our prestigious foreign students with capital F. What do you think the response would be to that? What do you think they would ask? Because, no, seriously, like, think about it. How can you do this to other people? It's inhumane. Make them study under the scholarship with the name of a race. Okay, now imagine this, alright? Imagine you're a professor at a university, and you call attendance, and you're Jack, present. Letitia, present. Fuckboy. What? No, that's his name. All right. Now, apparently, the professor has been suspended for suggesting that the student anglicized her name. Now, here's the thing. I had many people in my classroom that had interesting names for the ear of a Romanian-speaking person. Now, of course, it would be annoying for the professor to pick on the student's name, regardless how ridiculous it seems. But usually it was a two-way street. Like, the student was also a little bit more understanding. So if you had someone with a name like he would just tell the teacher, just call me Ahma, you know, or something like that. It was like a way of understanding. It's like, all right, you know, it's this language barrier between us. It's not me, it's not you, but we can try to find a middle ground. We can try to work together in order to create this era of mutual understanding. But no, nowadays it's try to get your teacher fired for not pronouncing it properly. And you know, again, like the teacher, yes, you shouldn't just call it bui fuck. That's what I would have done. It like bui fuck, and that's it. Problem solved. But nowadays you lose your job for any infraction. There's no more like in between. You know, there's no more suspension. There's no more wage cut. There's no more warnings. You're either employed or not. Like that's the option. You guys remember that professor at the UCLA which had his own students trying to kill him like there's a police car outside of his house. I think he also got suspended. Why? Well, because the exams were coming up and he didn't allow people to go protest and miss the exams. How dare he not change the rules? So he got in trouble, right? Well, now at the Oxford University, students who claim quote-unquote trauma of what happened in another country over an ocean has impacted their exams are told to apply for mitigating circumstances. Now, I have finished 2 universities, okay, and a high school. And I can tell you that literally every single student which had his exams impacted are going to claim mitigating circumstances. No, I mean, seriously, picture yourself in front of the professor. And he's asking you a question and you don't know. He's asking you another question and you don't know. And it goes like, eventually, it's like, why didn't you study for this? And you're like, oh, no, the tragedy in the United States, I just couldn't. I couldn't. Like, did you see what's on television? Oh my God, like, I just, oh. Literally every single student is going to do this, regardless if they were impacted or not. And I'm curious if doctors who botch a procedure or a surgery on someone can also use this claim. Like if you get a malpractice suit, it's like, oh, I watched the television, I like CNN, oh my God, like I'm traumatized by it. It's mitigating circumstances. I mean, these students are going to have jobs, right? Like, and from what I know, most jobs do influence the lives of other people. Like, imagine you go to Oxford and you become a lawyer, and because you do a bad job, your client ends up in prison when he shouldn't. And then you go like, well, you know, I watched CNN, mitigating circumstances. It's not a malpractice thing. Ahoy, ahoy, ahoy. Shouldn't universities, like, teach you how to act when you get a job? And don't you want the people who are employed to manage to overcome the trauma that they're getting from watching CNN? I'm literally curious now. I think I'm a dying breed. I think I'm the only person that thinks like this. It's like, no. University students need to be cuddled. They need to be treated like children. And it needs to be like a kindergarten there. And we need to be very careful about not hurting their feelings.